Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spotlight. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. Shout out to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. As always, it is Thursday, August 10th. We got a lot to talk about. We got a great interview airing at 11 a.m. Eastern today with the sister of one, Cody Rhodes. Teil Rhodes is on the Creator Spotlight, in the Creator Spotlight, on the Spotlight later on today. That was really fun that we recorded with her last night. So everyone stick around, check out that interview. Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Good to see everyone here in the chat. Good to see you as well. Yeah, been a much better week than last week. Last week was miserable at my job. I was talking about that last week. This week's been a little bit better, so that's been good. Went and saw the Ninja Turtles movie last week also.
Same. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Who cares about wrestling?
Let's talk about that real quick because people trickle into the show here. I'm like a massive fan of like the OG movies, like the 90s movies, the live action. Ernie Reyes Jr. is like one of my favorite actors ever. I just got his action figure too from the Secret of the Ooze movie. Like, he was in Surf Ninjas and stuff. He was like a bit like our age. Like he was in a few pretty big movies for like when we were growing up. So I was really big into him. I still am. He's on Team Diaz. He cornered Nate Diaz during the Jake Paul fight. Like it's so crazy. Like that kid is now in the Diaz Team Diaz, which is just so wild. But like, anyway, I saw the new. I had every reason in the world to go into this movie thinking like, because I didn't like Space Jam 2. I didn't like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. There's been like stuff that's really kind of been like ruined for me. Like stuff that I love that they've tried to reboot or like make sequels of like way later, and I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. I get that what they're trying to do. I'm not gonna like hate on it as bad as other people, but like it's not for me. A lot of these reboots and stuff. This Turtles movie I thought was great. Like I'm gonna go see it again in theaters. Like I love the animation. I love the story. Like they made some small changes to like some of the backstories from like the movies and the cartoon that like we grew up on and stuff, but not changes that was like took anything away from it. It's kind of modernized stuff, which you would expect them to do, making a new movie for like a new generation of kids and stuff. So like, personally speaking, I really, really like the new Ninja Turtles movie. I'd recommend people see it. And I saw it in Dolby, which made it even better because like, the surround sound with like the vibrating speakers and stuff kind of around you and stuff like that. Like it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed the movie. So I'd recommend people check it out if you're a Turtles fan.
Same. We went on Monday to go see it. Took the kids to go see the Turtles movie, and we don't go to a whole lot of movies. In the past 2 years, we saw the Minions movie last year. We saw Mario this year, and then Turtles now. Those are the only 3 movies we've gone to in the past year.
Mario's fantastic.
Mario was very good. Yeah, Mario was very good. But movies are expensive, so it adds up. But we went to go see the Turtles movie, and yeah, really good. It was the kids enjoyed it, which is the biggest thing for us. But like, as adults, there's a lot of like adult humor, adult references, and stuff that was popping me as well. I love the soundtrack as well to it. They played Annie Up. My favorite. I love Annie Up. I love that song. I love in this context, it's like a montage of them like beating people up and like being good guys and stuff. Like Annie Up is about like robbing people. They played No Diggity at one point during like another montage, and No Diggity is about banging. They played I Like It Raw as well. So like the soundtrack was very geared towards adults, but like it's very hype music. I mean, No Diggity's not super hype, but Annie Up certainly is. And so for the montages, it works. But I was like, oh, this is a very adult soundtrack on this. Yeah, the animation was great. I love that. I like that they had like actual like kind of teenagers for the voices and stuff. The person who played April O'Neil, or the person who voiced April O'Neil, is from The Bear. I love The Bear. So I thought she was fantastic as well. overall, a very, very fun movie. Whether you are a kid, whether you are an adult, I highly recommend it. So if you have not seen it, go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy that we both agree on that, and that like it was a reboot of something that I really love. And like I said, I had every reason to go into this like with bad faith, like expecting it not to be good, like expecting not to like the changes and all this stuff. I went to it like, you know, kind of like with low expectations. And dude, I would definitely recommend it. It was I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm probably gonna see it again. I have the AMC like movie pass thing that I pay for monthly. So like that's why I go so often now. But like, yeah, I mean, movies are definitely expensive. That's why I've done the pass, because like it's just way cheaper if you go even like once a month to just like do it. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Ninja Turtles worth seeing. So
that's our other spotlight, part of our other spotlight, Ninja Turtles,
sure.
And then we'll talk about Jake Paul and Nate Diaz in our other spotlight.
There we go.
Well. Let's get into some actual wrestling here, everybody. Let's start with we'll start with the story.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
It was a good night at the Stephen Jensen household on August 5th, WWE SummerSlam, as Cody Rhodes defeated Brock Lesnar. He overcame the Beast, and then Brock, showing he is a kind man, showing he is a caring man, shook Cody's hand, adhered to the code of honor, the Cody Rhodes of honor, and then raised his arm, gave him an endorsement. Jensen, I imagine you were celebrating, you were crying happy tears for this one. You shot off the pyro in the house. Hopefully nothing got burned down. What are your thoughts on Cody Rhodes conquering the Beast?
So I'm obviously very happy to see that happen. It was a definitive victory, which is something that I was very clear that needed to happen. I was hoping for the submission win, but Cody getting a clean win after 3 crossroads, pin, 1, 2, 3, no controversy. That works just as well. And it gets over even more so the fact that like he's going to pin Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania this year. So like that's just get used to that visual of crossroads, pin, 1, 2, 3 in big matches. I think it was really cool that at least Triple H is saying, or they're all kind of like saying that Brock, that like wasn't planned between Brock and Cody at the end of the match, which we talked with Teal, we talked with Teal a little bit about in the interview you'll hear later. But it's a really it's interesting because like Seth Rollins carries around this world title that like I think Seth's doing a great job, by the way. I really can't say anything bad about Seth. Like he's mega over, like the people with his theme song and all that stuff. Like I got nothing bad to say about Seth Rollins. But that title he carries is not as important as beating Brock Lesnar right now. They've made it seem like the Brock and Cody stuff was more important than that title, like this whole time. Because even Cody's saying, this is my key to getting back to finishing the story. Like he clearly wants Roman. He clearly wants the WWE title. Now, where things are kind of heading towards, like after I saw Raw, it looks like probably Shinsuke and Rollins next, which I really like as well. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. So like, this is all really good stuff that I've been seeing. I actually watched Raw all the way through on Monday, which I haven't done in a long time.
Wow, you watched the episode all the way through. You didn't even do that when you were there live. You left after Cody.
I left during the live show in Atlanta not long after Cody. That also has a lot to do with like Atlanta traffic sucks, and I just didn't want to deal with it. But like, that said, I think they're setting up some good stuff, but it also makes me think that there's a possibility Cody might even win that title first. And then the real finishing the story would be like the big unification of everything. Like, why not throw a 4th title in there, like in the mix with what Roman's carrying, and just, consolidate everything at WrestleMania this year? Like maybe they'll do something like that. I don't know. But the point is, I was happy with how things went for SummerSlam for Cody. Like he won the trilogy. He definitively beat Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar raised it. Like, when has that ever happened before where Brock Lesnar like held up his hand's opponent and was like giving him like the cheer this guy, like that? I don't know if that's ever happened. So
I can't think of it.
Yeah, so I mean that's massive. I mean, Cody's the guy. It's clear. Cody's gotten the endorsement from Cena, the same kind of thing where Cena came out and like raised his hand in front of the crowd. Now Brock's done it. I mean, if The Rock comes back, they'll probably do it for Cody. I mean, like, you know, that's just
didn't work so well the last time. Didn't work so well. The Rock last
that
time.
Was a totally different scenario that we were in back then with Roman and him. But it's funny because it's the same city, Philadelphia. For WrestleMania, right? Because like that was when the Royal Rumble was. Whenever that's why I also think in the back of my mind, I'm like, will they do Roman and Rock instead? Because
if they can get Roman and Rock, they 100% will.
They will, and especially like the tie-in there, like he got booed in Philly at that Royal Rumble.
Yep.
The two of them. Now it would be the two of them in the main event of WrestleMania in the same town. Cody's gonna get boxed out again. Anyway, just what are your thoughts on SummerSlam? I thought it was a giant W for Cody and the Nightmare family.
Which is all that really matters when it comes to WWE and Stephen Jensen's world of the WWE. I thought it was a good match. Brock just beat him up the entire time, and then Cody made his comeback. He overcame the adversity in the match. A definitive win for Cody is always good. I never thought the submission was fully in play, especially once there was no like stipulation sort of announced that kind of geared towards that. And typically like Cody's smart enough to where he's going to get a submission hold over before he just like breaks it out randomly.
Probably.
It's going to tap Brock Lesnar. So the figure 4 was about the only thing I could have seen working there. And I didn't think they were going to go that, but 3 crossroads, you can't get more definitive than that. Jensen, I'm worried you're setting yourself up for this WrestleMania 40 disappointment here. How mad would you be? And I'm not doing this to troll you. WWE might do this to troll you. They do Cody and Roman 2 and Roman wins again.
I've thought about that. Because then they could even try to set it up where like there's a trilogy at WrestleMania between Cody and Roman, and like Cody'd have to go for it a 3rd time the next year or something. Or maybe they just give up on Cody doing that.
If they do Cody and Roman 3 straight years at WrestleMania, people were sick of Roman and Brock for 3 years. We're going to do Cody and Roman for 3 years?
I'm not saying we're going to do that. I think Cody's going to beat him at WrestleMania this year. But yeah. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, Cody did go for the Kimura though on Brock. I mean, he didn't really have him like too much danger, but like, you know, he went for it. I thought that would have been pretty cool if he actually like beat him with his own submission hold. But
Brock should have passed out.
Yeah, I like him getting pinned better than passing out though, personally. Like he wasn't able to kick out. I'm good with that. So yeah, I mean that's really where it's at with Cody right now. Now it's really just like the killing time between now and the Royal Rumble and figuring out how this is all going to work, and also just praying that none of this has to do with the return of Bray Wyatt. Like just keep Bray Wyatt completely away from Cody.
Yeah. So what's next for Cody? Because you mentioned the Shinsuke and Seth, and that's certainly what they looked like they were setting up on Raw with Shinsuke knocking out Seth. Cody was in the main event. He was part of it. Does he do stuff with like Balor or Priest? Judgment Day is a big factor on Raw. He's already worked with Dominic at Money in the Bank. So is that the direction they go with Cody?
That's what I was thinking. Probably either Damian or Balor for like the next big singles match for him. Damian, I really like the idea of him and Damian, but I know I've seen him, like Cody pinned Damian not too long ago. I remember seeing that. And then also like Cody would win the feud. I don't love I really don't like the idea of the Money in the Bank holder like losing over and over and over again with the briefcase, but that isn't a new thing for like that happens often. Like, I mean, like
they do that literally every year.
Right. And I'm just saying, right. You're right. And I just don't like it. You know, it's just like
same.
It just seems like the opposite way of building a champion, but I could see that happening. I personally like to see Balor and Cody in like just a really solid, like 15-minute pay-per-view match, you know, just straight up match. And you have some shenanigans from the Judgment Day or whatever, but I could see maybe something like that. Especially because the Judgment Day is so over and they're on like every show and stuff. And like, that's probably the biggest thing Cody could do to kind of, I don't want to say waste time because it's not wait, but you know what I mean? Because the other thing is too, that we haven't mentioned. And I swear I said this too. My buddy Mike Hughes comes over for all the AEW shows. He wound up coming over for Collision and SummerSlam over the weekend. And I turned to him before the Cody and Roman match, and I swear I said this too. I said, my biggest fear, even bigger fear than like The Rock, stealing his spot, or like, him losing even at WrestleMania. My biggest fear is Roman gets hurt and something happens to where he has to vacate the title or he can't compete. Like, and also, I mean, we saw Cody go out for a long time with the pec and stuff. Like, stuff happens. But like I specifically said, I really hope that Roman has to stay healthy. Like, that's a big factor in this too. Like, so, and then we find out Roman got hurt during the match. And like, it doesn't sound like it's that serious, but like now and that also makes me think he's just not going to defend the title much until WrestleMania either. They're probably just going to sit there and just wait. Well, I know he wasn't, but I'm saying like, I think he's going to defend like against like Solo, and like that might be it before WrestleMania.
I think it'll depend on the severity of the injury, obviously. We talked a little bit about it in the weeds yesterday, but it'll depend on the severity of the injury. But I brought up that like he'd only wrestled 3-4 times since WrestleMania. The match against Jay was his first singles match since WrestleMania. It was his first title defense since WrestleMania. He had the 2 tag matches. Outside of that, he had the Bloodline Civil War and he had the Night of Champions match with Sammy and Kevin. That's it. He didn't defend the title much anyway. I think they were potentially setting up a 4-way, a Bloodline 4-way, maybe Survivor Series. Maybe you stretch that to the Rumble. I don't know. I know there was the report that one person in creative wanted Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania. I don't know who that person in creative is. I can tell you this is factual on record. The Usos want that match at WrestleMania. So it's not surprising that this is a direction that they might go in. Can you stretch that until WrestleMania? That's a tough stretch right there to go all the way to not do a singles match between those two until April. Like, that is a very long time to hold that off. I don't know if they can do it. And if they do, the beats might get repetitive on there. So as far as Roman,
they kind of get repetitive, right? Like with the bloodline. It's like, I know that they've been doing different turns and stuff, but it just feels like they're putting a hat on a hat constantly now, where it's like, okay, like where's the next twist? Like how, like this Cody should have won at WrestleMania. You can do all of this afterwards. Like that's what's, it's also backwards when you're watching it happen. It feels like
here's the thing. The best Bloodline stuff is typically when they've kind of been challenged by other people.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the Jey Uso stuff going into SummerSlam was good. The Bloodline Civil War, all of that stuff was really good. But it was also, if you were watching 3 years ago, it was a lot of the same beats from 3 years ago. It's just Solo was a new element to that. Now we're kind of hitting those same stories, and then you have Solo in there now, but he's been there. And now with Jimmy and Jay, you're kind of hitting the same stuff that we kind of touched on 3 years ago during the pandemic. And again, the stuff with the Bloodline, the stuff that was good over the past year was when Sammy was part of it. They could play off of Sammy. When Cody was kind of coming to them and challenging them. That's sometimes my issue with the Bloodline. Is like, I understand it's Bloodline, it's family, all of this stuff, but like somebody's got to step up and be like, hey, I want this belt as well. Like, you guys are not the only people around here who can just hold all this title, hold all this time. Sheamus is doing it in media interviews, but that's the stuff I want to see more than just, okay, let's do Bloodline match after Bloodline match. But it seems like they might do a 4-way at some point. I would assume the challenge is Cody at WrestleMania, unless they get The Rock. If they get The Rock, they get The Rock. You're not, sorry to Cody, but you're not overstepping The Rock on that if that happens. If they can talk Austin, I think that should be a fear, Jensen. If they can talk Austin out of doing something and Austin steps to Roman, because that was a rumor for this year, is Austin could be there. And then Austin has said that, his show kind of got in the way of training and everything, but he wrestled 2 years ago. If he can come in there and do something, they'll put him in over Cody. Oh, I think that should be another fear. But at some point, somebody's got to kind of step into the bloodline. I suggested the New Day just because there's a lot of history between New Day and Usos. Woods likes to say in media interviews, I beat Roman, or Roman never beat me, type of thing. Seth is an easy one that I just don't think they'll ever revisit. And these guys are on Raw, so I brand split, whatever. But I would like to see the bloodline kind of interact with other people. And I don't know where it goes without Roman right now to turn this all back into Roman. He's hurt. I don't know when his next scheduled title defense was. I imagine he probably wasn't wrestling until Saudi anyway. Saudi's in November, and then Survivor Series. Is he going to be healthy in 3 months? 3 months. I would think so. I would like to hope so. If not, then maybe he doesn't wrestle until Rumble. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of, the brand split and all that, like, it does, we saw somebody on SmackDown, Jeremy.
Your guy, your favorite wrestler.
My guy. Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk right about that, or like, is there anything else you want to talk about with Cody and Roman and Brock? Because I think that's pretty much like, it pretty much covers it. Like, I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I mean, it'd be nice to get more people involved in challenging the bloodline, but I think it's wild because the storyline pretty much peaked at WrestleMania. Like, they've pretty much tapped out like I shouldn't say the most interest in it, but like, I feel like even the fans that were like ride or die, like this is the best storyline I've ever seen. Even now, a lot of them on Twitter or on X are like, they're like, hey, this is getting old. Like, this is too much.
People will say that, and here's what I'll kind of counter is they said that after Drew, after Sammy, after Cody, and then they do a segment. They do one of their cinema segments, and they turn it all back around. True. On things. And then people are like, oh man, this is so great. And they praise it again. They called back to this. They called back to that. They tied up this. All these guys are very smart. Paul Heyman is very smart when it comes to like putting this stuff together. You can make Jimmy turning on Jay make sense. Whatever path you decide to go on. He was jealous. He wants to be the tribal chief. Whatever he was told by the elders, whatever path you want to set that on, they can make it make sense. Whether or not it's the best story to you, that's your own personal opinion. I'm speaking in generalities here.
Sure.
That's your own personal opinion, but they can make it make sense. I think, and this is me personally, I think what people are sort of tapped out on is the match. This is a 40-minute match that did not need to be 40-minute match. And like all of these matches feel the same. They're just elongated to where no one cares about the first half. You wait for the interference. And in this one, you thought, oh, maybe there will be no interference because that was tribal combat. But then there was interference. And then they did the turn. And did it feel a little shock value? Yes. Could they have held off, done it at a later time? Yes. I would have been much happier with this match. First off, if it was cut in half. Second, sure. If Roman just beat him, I had no disillusion of Jay winning this match. You just give me some near falls and Jay, it makes it seem like, oh shit, he might win type of thing. But then Roman kicks out and Roman just beats him. I didn't need Jimmy screwing him over. I didn't need Solo interfering. I would have been fine if Roman just won and moved on. Every match feels the same. It's the same match every single time. And I think that, hey, this is me personally speaking, I think that's what I'm burned out on. Okay. I don't want to speak for everybody else. Sure. That is what I'm burnt out on.
Yeah. I think that's super fair. I think a lot of people are like that, because this was the first time that I can remember, and I could definitely be wrong because I don't follow it as closely as everyone who watches, every Raw and SmackDown and stuff. But like, this is the first time that I can remember throughout pretty much this whole process where like when Jimmy turned and that reveal happened, the crowd was just like, yeah, like we saw this coming. Like, it was, what I mean? It was kind of like it just fell flat. And then like they looked at each other for forever before he kicked him. It just it just didn't hit. Like I think they were planning for it too. And they can salvage it, of course. Now, that said, I did tweet about this too. And I think this is also another theory worth considering, Jeremy. Jimmy Uso turned on Jay because he knows that the person to beat Roman should be Cody. So even Jimmy knows, like he did it for Cody, he did it for the people. So, yeah, I don't know, man. They're once again, we're still like 7 months from WrestleMania or whatever. Like they have a lot of, we're gonna see more turns and twists and maybe more family members. Yeah, I saw randomly I saw Jacob Fatu tweet something about that had to do with the bloodline. Like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something that I retweeted the other day that was like very wink wink towards like he's looking at the bloodline kind of thing. Like, you know, there's other members of this family who are good wrestlers who aren't currently signed to the company who they could potentially bring in. I thought it would be interesting, not necessarily to see him wrestle, but you know, Manu is in that family. And he was a part of the legacy with Cody for like a super short amount of time. And I thought even that'd be like an interesting person to bring in for like a promo or a segment or something. And like, you know, just because he has history with Cody, like whenever Cody and Roman starts like gearing back up and stuff. And I saw Manu in a recent, I think he was on the Hidden Most Wanted Treasures or whatever show that is. The Rikishi episode, I'm pretty sure he was in that and stuff. So like, I just want to throw that out there too. Like, there are other members of the bloodline who could be introduced still. There's of course elders who, you know, could reappear and stuff like that. So there is more. And then of course The Rock being like the main one, of course. But so we still got like half a year to chug along here. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more cinema and all that stuff along the way. So we'll see. You know, once again, we're in a spot where like Roman's still the champion and he's not going to lose that title. And here's the thing, he might not even lose it at WrestleMania. Like you said, he might retain again for all we know. For all we know, Vince is sitting there literally saying like he's beating Bruno. Like, I don't care what happens. He's holding this thing like we need to rewrite history. And like Roman is going to be our guy in the history book. So we have this other title that Seth has. People can win and lose and challenge for that thing. But Roman's holding this thing for the next, you know, forever, basically.
1,000 days.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, you know, so, you know, I'm one of those people where after what happened last year in the main event of WrestleMania, like, obviously I think if they run it back again, like they really, really, really need to pull the trigger on Cody before like this becomes a problem. Because he's over and like he's your guy and like he's ready and like you're not going to have him forever either. But I also don't have like super amount of confidence about that he's going to win. Like after what happened last year, like I can't. Like I was so sure Cody was going to win that match, and so many people were. And for him to lose, like, it's very possible it happens again. It is, especially if there's like some sort of hint of like, okay, WrestleMania comes around, we're going to do Cody and Roman, and then like they get closer and closer to the show, and then all of a sudden they find out like The Rock is going to be good for SummerSlam or whatever, and they're like, okay, well we can't, like, Roman's going to hold on to it then because we got to do Roman and Rock at SummerSlam. You know what I mean? There's other factors too, which could throw this off. So, and also it's honestly a curse having this other Seth Rollins title too, because it's almost like this excuse to where like, if they don't want to go with Cody and Roman, they could be like, okay, Cody, well, you can still win the title. You can win this title, you know, but it isn't the same thing. So,
well, Cody has said that as well. Cody has said that like winning that title, it's not the same. Everyone knows why he's here. And he said, but he's also said that if I win it, it's cool. It doesn't deter from the actual story. Now, whether or not you believe that, whether or not you think that is true, whether you think that, oh, well, he won this title, it's kind of a consolation prize, will that take away from when he wins the WWE title? I don't know. I think most of the fan base will be happy if he wins the World Heavyweight title. We'll understand that's not his ultimate goal, and then we'll be happier when he wins the WWE title, if he wins the WWE title.
I agree with that 100, and I think that's very, like, I actually mentioned that earlier in the show. Like, I think that's a very strong possibility that Cody wins the World Heavyweight title first, and then they do like champion versus champion at WrestleMania for like all four of the titles. But
yes, that's what they need. They need to just unify everything again.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what's crazy. Like, the tag team titles are still unified, and I know Owens is hurt and stuff, but you know, but the problem with doing that with Cody with that title, and it's not even really it's a problem, but it's a problem that's already happening. It's like people already don't view that as on the same level as Roman carries, and it's how could they? It'd be impossible to. The title, Roman's had this belt for over 1,000 days. It's the WWE Championship. It has all this history and lineage, like. It's a different thing. But if Cody won the World Heavyweight title and just kind of held it there on his shoulder and he's like, yeah, this is cool, but like, I'm trying to win the real title. Like, the title that he's carrying doesn't really mean that much, right? It feels kind of like the Intercontinental title did back in the day, where it's like, yeah, I have this. This means I'm next up for the one that matters. It's just kind of a weird look to have a World Heavyweight title that you're really just using as a stepping stone for the better World Heavyweight title.
Cyclops better than Logan says, people say the bloodline peaked and they're not interested every other pay-per-view, but the numbers and the attendance keep going up. I will agree that the match redundancy is a problem. Yeah, like we're online, we're perpetually online, probably too much, and we see the complaints and everything. I said the same thing. I was like, people say that after every pay-per-view, and yet they find a way to turn it around and still get people invested, and the numbers do continue to grow. All the numbers support this. At some point, will they fall off? Maybe. I mean, we'll see what the SmackDown rating is like this week. We'll see what Payback numbers are like. But I imagine just WWE is a hot business right now, and Bloodline is certainly at the top of that. But yeah, the match stuff, to me, that's the biggest issue right now. I'm fine with all the cinema stuff. Again, all these performers are good enough to where they can carry it, to where they can make it make sense. But I need a little bit more out of these matches. And somebody asked, it was Bonkers LFC, I believe, your thoughts on Cody hitting Brock with the steps and not getting DQ'd.
That happens pretty often with steps, right? Like there's certain things around the ring that they generally don't really DQ you on, right? Like the steps and the announcer table and like but I'm with you though. I mean, I could see the theory behind like, because also, excuse me, also to be fair, Cody also had that match with Brock when he had the injured wrist and he was just like using his cast as a weapon the whole time.
What you're saying is Cody's a cheater and he should have lost both of those matches.
I'm saying Cody's a liar, and we'll talk to Teal about that a little bit later. But no, I'm with that line of thinking though. I understand because I get like that too about certain stuff. Like, there's certain things, especially when it has to do with like rope breaks in certain matches and stuff like that. Like no DQ matches that like use rope breaks and stuff. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So like I'm with you. I think the ring steps are generally kind of like gray area. People get thrown into the ring steps all the time without getting DQ'd, but we don't see people get hit in the head with them too often, I guess. Like in a match, usually happens during like a segment or like a beatdown or something. So I'm with you, Bonkers.
So Cody should have lost, is what Stephen Jensen is saying. Should have lost by DQ. That's what I heard.
No, I disagree.
No, you just said you agreed with Bonkers.
Well, no, I agree. I agree with like he threw a scenario out there that like I could understand that line of thinking is what I'm saying. Like if this was a legitimate sport and this was a legitimate referee and he was in there and he saw somebody hit somebody with a foreign object, being the steel steps to the head or to the shoulder or whatever he hit him, wherever he hit him, like that would be. I can understand that. Really funny story. Very quickly. This is a very, very, very fast story. I knew a guy. Well, I shouldn't say I knew. I was like a friend of someone who, so this guy, like, he's our age. Okay. And this was probably about 10 years ago. So he would have been like in his mid 20s. Maybe a little earlier, probably early 20s when this happened. He was like a baseball umpire. Like he did like rec league baseball umpiring and stuff, and you can tell you're saying like really, really seriously. And I found out that he was using that experience in umpiring to parlay that into professional wrestling refereeing. He went to go train to be a pro wrestling ref, and he came back from his first day. Once again, this guy was like 20 when this happened. He came back from his first day and told like my friend who like was explaining all this to me, because I know who this guy is. He's like he's actually the cousin of somebody I grew up with, a friend with. He went to this thing for the first day, and like that's how he found out like how wrestling was like scripted, pretty much. Like he went to train as a referee, and they started telling him like where to be and like how to do things and like how to tell them what to do as they're doing it and like how to count correctly. He went in there thinking he was gonna hold down court and like count the three and like be looking at the shoulders. Like he went in this thinking he was going to referee professional wrestling, and he pretty much found out like he knew it wasn't like completely real, but like he thought like he didn't realize the referees were like telling them like the time cues and like where to be in the like for their spots and all this stuff, and it like totally ruined it. He quit the refereeing almost immediately. He's still a wrestling fan though. Luckily, I see him in random chats still. Every now and then I'll see his name in like a chat for like a website or something. So he's still a wrestling fan, but I thought it was wild. I was like, dude, imagine being 20 years old, going into the world of doing it, and then that's when you realize like, oh damn, like this is way, way more like planned out than I realized. But it's kind of crazy.
You know whose game it is, Stephen Jensen.
Yeah, I know whose game it is.
LA Knight. It's his game. Jensen. He won the Slim Jim Battle Royal. He was on Raw. He confronted The Miz. They had a elongated promo segment, and you are going to say nice things about L.A. Knight. Jensen, go for it.
Huh. So wouldn't the like the right grammar be whose game it is, not whose game is it? Because that sounds like a question, not a. He says it wrong. Anyways, so the
nice things, Jensen.
Okay, so all right, here we go. So LA Knight, I did not watch SmackDown. I did hear that he had a little difficulty doing a superplex. I guess he jumped up to the top rope and might not have hit it correctly.
Yeah, he jumped up. They redid the spot.
It's cool. It's cool. And then he hit it against Sheamus. I saw him do it in the Battle Royal. He almost slipped there, but like he recovered. So like that was really good. And then after the match, Jeremy, it was great. So I went on Twitter afterwards and I found that he cut a promo after the match where he got on the microphone and he cut this really unique promo that I've never really heard before. He said, "Let me talk to you." He explained to me what a battle royal is. And then he said that he is a Slim Jim like Randy Savage because he was holding a Slim Jim and, you know, Randy Savage is synonymous with that. And then he told me what his name was and said, yeah. So I definitely, that was earth shattering stuff. Now, that said, Monday comes around, right? The Miz goes out there and basically he's been watching the spotlight. So the Miz basically just goes out there and just says everything I've been saying for like the last handful of months, right? He goes out there and I'm sitting there watching the TV screen, like I might as well. I mean, I did not have.
You didn't tweet like anything about Raw, and then your only tweet was like the Miz is right, Miz is cooking him. Like you were just praising Miz. I was like your only tweet about Raw.
I really hardly ever tweet about wrestling as I'm watching it. Pretty rarely.
I know, but it's just hilarious to me that was like your only tweet about it.
Yeah, Miz is spitting, I think is like all I said.
Yeah.
And he was. I was like, dude, this is like Louisville says in the chat. Bars. Yeah, that's right. Bars Mitzvah. Shout out to my boy BLP Kosher. He just put out an album called Bars Mitzvah. There's a Jewish rapper out there that's killing it right now. He's so good. I might actually see him live in a couple weeks. He's in Atlanta. Anyways, the LA Knight stuff. Okay, so he's going back and forth with the Miz. All right, the Miz grills him. He cooks him. He roasts him. He's spitting. I love it. Bars. Nothing but bars. Hot fire from the Miz. LA Knight, he kind of like, okay, part of what his promo was once again just a super low-hanging fruit. It's weird that he's like calling. Oh, let me explain to you the stuff that I don't like first. He's talking about how like the Miz, I'm not like you, the Miz. I don't take any crap from anybody. You were here years ago. Everyone knows the stories. You getting kicked out of the locker room and you having to change with the fans and all this stuff. That would never be me. I stand up for myself. Well, the difference with that is, you got to be hired by the company to even be in a scenario like that. And I have a pretty strong feeling that if back in the year, 2006 or whatever, this happened to the Miz, if someone like Chris Benoit and, JBL are in your face, I highly doubt that you would have that same tone. Like, I think you would do exactly what the Miz did to try to keep your job. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, also the Miz is the former WWE champion and main evented WrestleMania, and won the main event of WrestleMania over John Cena, and The Rock was involved in that and everything. Like, it's really hard for someone with that hasn't accomplished any of these things to come out and try to roast somebody for not being worth their time or on their level. Now, that stuff aside, LA Knight held his own on the microphone. I've been waiting this whole time, and I've been saying it week after week, that it was going to be very important for the trajectory of LA Knight to see how he responds to somebody actually going back and forth with him. There's a big difference between coming out and saying the same thing every week and the crowd all saying, yeah, with you. There's a big difference between that and someone else with a microphone saying, hey man, this is really lame. You're not saying anything. You're not intimidating me and you're not that good. This is they can cheer you all you want. And the Miz basically said it. This is a flash in the pan, dude. We have seen this 1,000 times. He didn't mention it by name, but he might as well have said bro, this is Rusev Day. Okay. This is nothing more, nothing less than Rusev Day. They're trying to make it it's the yes movement. Now they're calling it the yeah movement. this guy is not Bryan Danielson. There is a massive difference in performers between Bryan Danielson and LA Knight. Now, once again, that all said, he did well. I can't hate on him. I'm hating on specific things about some of the stuff he was saying in the promo I didn't really agree with, but he came off like a guy who could go back and forth with The Miz. The Miz is very good on the microphone. That is not an easy guy. That's a tough test to like have this be his first real back and forth with someone. And you got to do it with The Miz, who really knows what he's doing on a microphone. So I want to give LA Knight credit. I will. Like, I know I tongue in cheek roasted him a little bit there, but that's kind of just on brand at this point. I'm just going to do that. I think it's funny at this point. And I think there's truth to what I'm saying as well. I'm not saying it to try to be funny, but like coming out of that segment, I was like, the LA Knight looked a lot better to me. And once again, if they want to push him towards like a US title, an upper mid card type thing and like see where it goes, I'm cool with that. It's got to be the kind of the slow progression, I think. Like I'm not sitting here thinking like this guy should win the Royal Rumble or anything like that, but there's a lot of people that feel that way. So I'll put it out there. Like I thought he did well back and forth with The Miz. I still think if I had to score it, I know you put in the title or whatever on the that you got cooked. If I had to score it, I think it was a 10-9 round for The Miz still. But I think that the fact that LA Knight got a 9-point round in a round with The Miz is a win if you're Stephen Jensen right now. So to all you LA Knight fans who think that I'm a giant hater and just despise everything I'm saying about the guy, I hope you hear that and you go, you know what, Stephen makes some fair points here, but he's starting to come around a little bit. So I will keep an open mind. If he continues to have decent promo battles back and forth with other performers and can hold his own, I will continue to kind of turn around with this. And like I can become a fan. It's possible. Just not there yet, but Monday was a good step in the right direction.
I thought it was a good promo from both men. I'm with you. I was happy to see LA Knight in a more elongated promo segment because for the most part, the hits that he's done have been the little quick hitter, kind of quick roast type of thing. It hasn't been the long 10-minute promos that WWE is, I don't want to say built on, but certainly have become known for when it comes to this stuff. LA Knight has done the absolute best and has gotten over the very little kind of time that he has gotten in these short little segments. And they clearly trust him to do these short little promo segments. Now he's getting a bigger opportunity with someone like The Miz. Say what you will about The Miz. Say what you will about it. But yeah, I got no issue with The Miz, by the way. I mean, we grew up like real world challenge fans and stuff like that.
I've got his first piece of merch ever in here somewhere. I've shown that hat 1,000 times. Like I bought his hat when he was on the challenge, dude. I'm day one Miz fan.
So I have no issue with The Miz, and the fact that he is still in this position after all these years says a lot. And again, say what you will about him, the company trusts him in so many different spots, and it takes a lot to earn that kind of trust. There are people who've been there for a long time who do not have the trust and the respect that Miz has. And you listen to a lot of old school people, you listen to his peers, they all got respect for The Miz. So I'm going to take that over fans who don't like him because he doesn't have 5-star matches every time out or anything like that. But
also, really quickly, Miz, massive Cody Rhodes fan. Throughout that documentary, did you finally watch the documentary before we?
I'm not going to confirm or deny if I watch this documentary. I'll never give up that info.
Throughout the whole documentary, The Miz is just like cheering for Cody. Like you could just, he's like talking about him like he's the coolest guy in the world. And like when he came back, it's so like The Miz is the biggest Cody fan. So I just want to throw that out there too. He's all over that documentary.
That's why I like him.
Well, I mean, I like him. I liked him before. I was actually a Miz fan before I was a Cody fan because I watched The Miz on the Real World before I ever met Cody. I mean, it's that long ago.
I like this segment with LA Knight and The Miz. I like that they're giving LA Knight a little bit more substance, a little bit more story, and a little bit just more time to develop things on the microphone. And now, look, am I going to be super high on this match? Probably not. It'll be good. It'll be solid. I don't think it'll go really above that because Miz and LA Knight just are who they are as workers. They have their style. It works for them. it's gotten them this far, but they are not people who are going to go out there and they're just not going to have those 5-star matches. And that's fine. That is perfectly fine. It'll be a fine match. And I assume LA Knight will win, but I like this promo battle. I thought it was good. And we'll see where it goes for them. We're going to get an actual kind of LA Knight feud. I assume Miz will show up on SmackDown and go from there as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. And this is going to be make or break for LA Knight. I don't think fans understand how important this is going to be for him against the Miz, because Vince in the decision. I mean, he's got a bad back or whatever, but they're whoever the decision makers are in the WWE, right? Like they're if the match between the Miz and LA Knight, so I'm messing with my camera here. The Miz with LA Knight and the Miz, if the match between the Miz and LA Knight isn't good, the only person that's going to get blamed for that is LA Knight. Like the Miz is a made man forever in that.
But okay, I agree. But like, let's define. It'd have to be just absolute trash for it to not hit. Like, I think it's gonna be very tough for them to have just like an outright stinker of a match. Everybody nowadays is so good and has just the fine basics with everything. And Miz is the epitome of that. Like, his basics are exceptional. Honestly, like everything he does, what he does is always good. And LA Knight is like, I'm not super high on LA Knight as a worker, but everything he does looks good. He pulls off the stuff he needs to pull off. There, I don't expect them to get this. If they do want to kill this LA Knight push, make this a 15-minute match, and then the fans will probably turn on that pretty quickly. You give them an 8 to 10-minute match, it'll probably be a good match. Like, it would have to be absolute trash for them to be like completely turn on things.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm going into this with good faith, by the way. Like, I mean, I should say that. I was like shaking my head like this is going to be a good match. I don't expect it to be very good. But that's also like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, honestly. Like, as long as the fans are into it, like if they're doing the stuff with him and, like, I mean, that's really all that matters. Like, if the fans are going crazy the whole time and Vince and Triple H and, the people in charge hear that, I mean, that's ultimately all that really matters. The Miz is going to do everything he can to make LA Knight look good. This whole feud is clearly set up for the Miz to elevate LA Knight. I mean, so it's like, that's the intention, so we'll see. I mean, they both basically have the same finishing move. LA Knight just looks worse, but it's like,
he hit it as a cutter the other week.
But it's still this weird where they're both going forward to get, like, it just doesn't look good.
It's a finish that, it's tough to make look great. I think he makes it look as good as it possibly can. When he hit it as a cutter, I didn't know if like he just forgot what he was doing or what happened there.
Not what his finisher was.
I didn't know if he changed it. If he's like, okay, I'm just going to use it as a cutter now. But then he went back to the other way where he goes forward with it as well. So I was just like, oh, did he just kind of forget what he was doing with his finish?
Just get a better fit. I mean, but to be fair though, that's not even necessarily like their decision a lot of the time. I'm sure like the finishing move is like a decision that's made between him and the company and has to get approved and so I'm not saying it's even necessarily his fault. I'm just saying like finisher doesn't look good. Like, just, I mean, those are small things that can be fixed. Like, just, and that happens to a lot of wrestlers. Remember when Randy Orton used to use the overdrive?
Oh, that move. I mean,
terrible move. And then then started doing the RKO, and it's like that's become an iconic move for him. I mean, that went mainstream, the RKO out of nowhere and everything. I mean, LA Knight can easily they need to come up with a better finisher for him. There's certain things about his moveset I don't like. He doesn't have very good matches. It just is what it is. I can't get over the Mountain Dew thing, but also that's probably most of the blame goes on Bray Wyatt for that. I can't
again the fact that he had that and is still turned out to this level.
That's very impressive because he could have been done after that. I mean, to be fair, I have to respect the resiliency because like they brought him in basically to be a manager, and I got to give him, whether I like him or not, and what's the thing, I don't dislike him as a person at all. I think he's actually a really nice guy. I saw videos of him like petting dogs at the Cubs game the other day and stuff. I mean, he seems like a good guy. Like, and I respect that he's been doing this for so long. So I will give him credit where it's due. Like, I mean, after that Mountain Dew match, it could have been game over. Whose game is it? It could have been anyone else's game, because like that was like a career killer for most people, probably having to be involved in something like that. And also to be slotted in as a manager, and then that's really all they thought of you. And like to be where you're at now, man. Like, once again, I've said it 1,000 times about him, regardless of what I think about the dude and anyone else who's kind of hating on him, whatever. Do the same thing I talk about with all these other people. Just ignore the haters and keep on dabbing, LA Knight. Just do your thing. Like, just literally ignore me. What you're doing is working. Just keep doing it. Like, just because I don't like it, I'm one person. You got arenas full of people cheering for you. So what's it really matter what I think? You know what I mean?
Andy says, then we're going to move on from WWE. After Sean's report about Heyman and Reigns choosing whom they lose to, I fear they won't pick Cody, even though he's the best choice. I feel they pick Solo.
I doubt that. Andy, thank you for the super chat. I think that Heyman, especially, I shouldn't say, I think Roman too, because I mean Roman was a Dusty Rhodes NXT kid, and like Heyman and Dusty long history. That also plays into the stuff with Cody a little bit more than we probably realize. Is like there's a lot of respect for his dad, and like Cody winning this title and finishing the story and all this stuff is also an extension of his dad's story that like never really got completed. So like there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I think that Heyman and Reigns would choose Cody, but I think that they also might choose their own family members. I think that's a fair point, Andy. I don't necessarily agree. I think it will be Cody, but I'm also the biggest Cody mark in the world, so I'm going to keep saying that. So
I hope they choose LA Knight. Just
that would be. I would literally never watch WWE ever again. And that's not even LA Knight's fault. Like if they went with anyone but Cody at this point, pretty much it'd be like done.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think that is an LA Knight thing. I think they could literally pick anyone that's not named Cody Rhodes, and you'd be like, all right, I'm done with this company.
Look, LA Knight for the World Heavyweight title at some point, I could see. Like if he stays hot enough, and like especially as a babyface, and they have like a heel world champion, I could see it. I just don't want to see it necessarily right now. And I definitely don't want to see it against Roman. But that's the thing too. He's on SmackDown technically, right? So like, but it doesn't matter. The brand split's so fake. Hashtag the brand split isn't real. Anyway, we can move on.
Well, we do have another chat from Cyclops by Logan. If Vince really wants to test LA Knight, he would make him a promo against Cena. Cena's capable of making anyone have a cry face, and I'd love to see how LA Knight would handle that.
He doesn't. He wants none of that smoke from John Cena. That would be a bad idea.
I don't think anybody wants the John Cena smoke. What's Austin Theory up to nowadays?
Yeah, that'd be a bad idea for LA Knight. Nothing against that. Honestly, is nothing against LA Knight. That is a bad. Well, remember when Cena did that with Roman? Like when Roman was like trying to get over, and like he was basically like, "Bro, you're struggling right now. Like you're basically saying to his face in front of millions of people watching, like, bro, you're shook right now. Like you can't even remember your lines right now. What are you trying to say, bro?
He had The Rock writing his promo on his hand. All right, The Rock, The Rock had to write down his lines against Cena. Cena's on a different level when it comes to that stuff. Absolutely different level. That's why I love that man, because he's just gonna go in there. The fact that like he's revealed, like I tell everybody what I'm gonna say before I say it, and then it's up to them to kind of combat that. The fact that they know and then they still ain't got too many answers, Cena's on a different level when it comes to just cutting that stuff down. Love that, man. All right, let's move on.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Last night's AEW Dynamite opened with the Jericho Appreciation Society mandatory meeting. And in this mandatory meeting, everybody told Chris Jericho to screw off and left. And then Jericho said he will make his decision, I guess, of whether he joins the Callis family or sticks with the society next week. What did you think of this promo segment from everyone? And then where do you think this is going with the decision, Jensen?
So I like the promo because it's like they're all just basically just standing up for themselves. They're like, this isn't working for us. All that's happened since in the last like handful of months, especially, is just like it's all been about Jericho and like helping Jericho and them getting beat up for Jericho and even like Sammy was like, dude, I did a 630 through a table to Sting for you. Like I didn't want to fight Sting's battles for you. Like, I mean, there's all the Garcia went up and danced on him before he left and stuff. Anna Jay, some of the members, it was a little ambiguous, kind of where like Anna Jay in some like 3.0, those guys, they didn't necessarily like quit the J. I mean, they did, but some of them were harsher than others. Like when they left, I'll just put it that way. Like I honestly think that Angelo and Daddy Magic should like those guys should stay with Jericho. I think personally, like I think that's a really good act. The three of them together. And I like that the two of them still cornered Anna Jay in the title match. So like they haven't completely imploded the whole thing, but there may be kind of some offshoots from it.
Yeah, they appreciate each other, not Chris Jericho anymore.
Right. Sure. So I mean, that's fair. So it's interesting to see kind of how that's playing out now. But it was the right time to get rid of the JAS, in my opinion. The thing had run its course. They did the feuds that they needed to get out of it. We've seen Jericho long enough with like, and I consider Jericho the GOAT. So it's, anything I'm saying right now is out. Geez, what was that? Is out of I'm just not messing with my camera. You can see me well enough, right?
Yes.
Okay. Between the beginning of AEW, the Inner Circle, like he was he had that go for so long, and then the JAS. He's been the leader of a group pretty much since AEW started. So like, I don't know if he necessarily needs to even be in a group anymore, but if he's going to, I love him with the Callis family, and that Callis is the leader of that. Jericho doesn't have to be the centerpiece of the whole thing. He doesn't have to be the mouthpiece the whole time. He can kind of be the guy to the side, along with Takeshita and like whoever else they recruit, and like that could be kind of his new thing. So I personally, I would have him officially join the Callis family. Part of me thinks he might not because like of how long they've kind of dragged the whole thing out, and like that they're going to wait till next week to make an announcement. But like at the same time, at this point, like you lost the JAS, the Callis family is a good opportunity, and I just don't see any reason why Jericho wouldn't, even storyline or like personally, why he wouldn't want to be involved in that. It just seems like it makes all the sense in the world. So my prediction is Jericho is going to join the Callis family next week.
Sorry, my wife walked by, and as far as Jericho goes, I don't think this is over with Jericho Appreciation Society. I don't think he's gonna go with Callis. If the rumor report is true that it's Jericho and Will Ospreay at All In, then it makes sense for Jericho to stay with the Appreciation Society, and then Ospreay is aligned with Callis there. And I don't like this, by the way. I don't like this Jericho Ospreay thing because I don't think it's the right play. I like Jericho and Omega better as the play. I think and then Jericho could go with Callis, and then we get some sense of, oh, Jericho's aligned with Callis. There's a long history there. Oh, Omega and Jericho. That's a strong match with plenty of history to it. I like that play better. If they go Jericho Ospreay, fine. Credit to Chris Jericho for getting himself booked in that match. The Jericho Appreciation Society, if it ends like this, and again, I don't think it is. I think he's staying with them. I don't like the ending of this because it feels. I think it was Anna who said it, of like, you didn't really do anything for us, and like I agree with her. Like Daniel Garcia, he certainly found himself more as a performer, but like he beat Bryan Danielson. And then that was kind of it. He lost all these ROH matches. Like he didn't really get elevated to the level I thought he was going to get elevated to. Sammy, kind of the same thing. He was just kind of baseline, just doing stuff. They did the Pillars match, but then that wasn't even Jericho Appreciation Society tied together with any of that. That felt like a whole separate thing. 2.0 is just they got more television time, which is great. And kind of in and out of stuff. Ty kind of in and out of stuff. And I know she's pregnant now. Like, I don't feel like anybody, and Hager was there, but I don't feel like anybody got elevated out of it. And I think if it ends like this without if you don't do a proper Jericho and Sammy match, like, I think that's a huge, huge miss. And I don't think Jericho Appreciation Society is breaking up. I think he's staying with them. I would like them to actually just elevate these guys a little bit. and get Daniel Garcia to kind of a next level, get Sammy Guevara to wherever it's going to go, whether it's a tag team run for Guevara and Garcia, whether it's Garcia actually winning the Peer title or maybe even the ROH title, whatever it might be. I would like to see them actually get elevated. But now I'm confused. Are they baby faces? Are they heels? Like if Jericho stays with them, does that make him a baby face? Because Callis is definitely a heel. So are we doing a Sammy Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia babyface run with everything? This segment was fine. I thought everybody delivered the point that they need to deliver, but I'm not a fan of the overall story on this.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I could see it going that way too, where he stays with them and like actually does help elevate them all. Because like Sammy didn't quit. I mean, he did, but it's another one where he was the most confusing out of all of it, because he basically told Jericho like, "Hey, this isn't working right now, but like I've had your back since day one in AEW, so like, you know, I'm not done having your back. I just need to figure things out." But like you said, honestly, the biggest concern of any of this to me, you mentioned, is Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho absolutely have to have a one-on-one feud, and Sammy Guevara needs to beat Chris Jericho one-on-one, like on pay-per-view. Like after all this time of him being the underling to Jericho in multiple factions and all this stuff, like for all this time, you know, Sammy Guevara, he has earned beating Chris Jericho one-on-one and like getting that rub and like moving on to something bigger. So I will definitely agree there. It doesn't matter like where they go with it. You know, Caden in the chat mentioned Santana and Ortiz maybe coming back and like attacking Jericho with Callis or something. I like that idea too. You know, I hope Santana and Ortiz have like figured. There was all those rumors about like the two of them having a falling out and stuff. Hopefully they figured things out, because those guys are. I remember them as EYFBO back in like on the indie days and stuff. Like those guys have been, and then of course LAX when they were in Impact and stuff. Like those guys, one of the best when they're on. They're one of the best tag teams out there. So like it'd be great to have them back as a team. Either Ace Shock mentioned, you know, maybe uniting them with Kingston. I could see that, but I do like the idea maybe if Jericho rejects the Callis family and then like other members of the former Inner Circle come out and like attack Jericho and they join with Callis, like that could be interesting. I hadn't really considered that.
That's a possibility. I don't know. Callis is going to need more people in his family. Right now it's just Takeshita. I assume Ospreay will be part of it in some way, but Ospreay's not an AEW guy. Like Ospreay's still a New Japan guy. He's not going to be there for every AEW show. Maybe Aussie Open is part of that in AEW. They're part of, United Empire with Ospreay. We'll see where it goes with the Callis family. At some point, he's gonna need some more members. I would assume he said it himself that like, yeah, we're gonna add. And right now, it's just one person. Yeah, I don't think Jericho's leaving the Jericho Appreciation Society if the Ospreay match is true. If they do go with something like Omega, then I can see it because Jericho aligns himself with Callis. But then if that's the end of the Jericho Appreciation Society, then we gotta get more with Guevara and Garcia going after Jericho. They can't just be like, oh yeah, we're done with you, and then that's it. We never go back around to it. I think that's a big disservice, specifically to Guevara, who's been linked to Jericho since the first episode of Dynamite.
Right, and I'm with you too with like personally speaking, based on the storylines, I would much rather see Jericho join the Callis family and like him and Omega. I just have them wrestle again. You know, But that said, you know, since I am such a Jericho mark, and I legitimately think that Will Ospreay in the ring is, if not the best wrestler in the world, you can make the argument for the best wrestler in the world. Like he's insanely talented. So like I really do want to see Jericho versus Ospreay just because like something I've never seen before. And I don't know how much longer we're gonna have to see it because I have no idea how much longer Jericho is gonna be going for. So like I do want to see it, but like storyline wise and how we get there and everything, it would make way more sense for Jericho to just go with Callis and then them do him and Kenny again personally. So
Money Mark says, I assume Kenny is wrestling Takeshita at All In. I think that is
sounds
the
like
assumption as well. My fantasy booking idea, you do Jericho Omega at All In, Omega wins, Takeshita kind of attacks, and then you do Takeshita and Kenny at All Out potentially, because you got to book something for All Out a week later. Or you can maybe do a tag team. I don't know what Hangman Page is doing at All In or All Out. So maybe you do Kenny and Hangman against Jericho and Takeshita at All Out after you do Jericho and Omega at All In. Maybe something like that. But Hangman is just chilling. He's not doing really anything. And I don't know what he's doing. I assume they'll do some battle royal at All In and maybe Hangman earns some type of title shot off of that. But I don't know what Hangman's doing right now, which is a little off-putting because Hangman was he was a real pillar of the company. Like he was the first big story of AEW, and now he's kind of there. The other thing from AEW last night, Rob Van Dam back in the ring, taking on Jack Perry. We're both big RVD fans. Stephen Jensen, what'd you make of his performance in this bout against Jungle Jack Perry?
I really enjoyed this. I'm really glad this happened. I love that Jack Perry came out rocking the Jerry Lynn trunks that year.
That was great.
That was, dude, Jack Perry as a heel is really working for me. Like, I really like what I'm seeing. He hasn't changed his look. I was afraid he was gonna like cut all his hair off and stuff. Like whenever he made the turn, like he looks like a badass. He looks like a heel. I hate the music, and that's literally the point. He's really leaning into being a heel. His promos, I think, have been good since being a heel. He's really leaning into being hated. And this was real, dude. Some of the stuff that RVD was hitting on Jack, the way he was selling it was so good. Like, especially the and some of it was maybe unintentional because Robbie Dam hits really hard. But like when RVD did the thing where he goes off the apron and does like the spinning kick while Jack's laying on the guardrail.
Yeah.
That was one of the most brutal looking one of those I've ever seen. Jack's face like swung into like the guardrail all the way down and stuff. I mean, and RVD hit all of his stuff. Came out to walk by Pantera, which I mean, like, that's just another example of Tony Khan being one of us. Like, we have to appreciate that. Like, people that get down on Tony or AEW and stuff, like, for little things here and there, keep in mind, Tony Khan is, at the end of the day, he's one of us. Like, he's going out there and he, from a fan perspective, from a money perspective, he's much different than most of us because he can actually afford to do our fantasy booking stuff, like, on actual national television. Like, the fact that he shells out for all these theme songs that we just, he doesn't have to do that, but he knows that's what he wants as a fan. And because he knows he wants it, he knows we want it.
If TK was a real fan, he would have shelled out for his RVD's TNA Impact theme.
That song was so bad. Rob Van Dam! Yeah. Rob Van Dam! And they were just like randomly like 5-star Fox Splash. You just yelling your catchphrases and stuff.
That song ruled. I don't care what anybody says.
So bad.
That song was amazing.
That was during that weird run where he like won the title, and then like he didn't have enough dates signed for like to defend it as often or whatever. So they just had like him get beat up in the back. No one saw it, and he like. Apparently Janice, the weapon of Abyss, like tore him up in the back, and like I'll never forget that era of TNA. That was such a weird era. But like, yeah, no, that theme song was terrible. But so it was great to see. I mean, TK is an ECW fan, obviously. I mean, yeah, for sure. That's So yeah, hell yeah, that was good stuff. And I love the match. RVD hit all of his stuff. He looks a little slower, a little older, like doesn't get as much height on some of the stuff. But hell, the guy's in his 40s or whatever. 50s probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's like 52.
52, man.
Yeah, you would imagine that he's 52. You'd imagine that he slows down.
Dude,
at that age.
I can only hope I'm half as in shape as he is at 52. Like even a quarter of what he is capable of at that age. It's insane. So like good for Rob Van Dam. I really enjoyed that stuff between him and Jack last night.
He clearly still takes care of himself. I mean, he lived the ECW life. By and large, he just smoked a lot of weed, and he always did like the yoga and everything. So he was always in good shape throughout his entire ECW, WWE, Impact, whatever company he was in throughout his entire run with that. And like he's 52, he's going to lose a step. It doesn't matter how great of an athlete you are, how good of shape you stay in. Father Time catches up to all of us, and he's lost a step, obviously, but still at 52, went out there, still gave you the bit of nostalgia that if you were a fan like Jensen and I, you were hoping for. And for newer fans who maybe have never seen him, it's like, oh, he looks pretty good at 52. Can only kind of imagine what he was looking at in his 20s and 30s. So hopefully RVD gained some new fans off of that, and they go back and they watch some of that classic RVD stuff, because man, at the time, like we grew up with it, Jensen, RVD was just different than anybody else with the stuff he was doing, and the way he performed and everything. So yeah, it was a nice little throwback. I went in with kind of low expectations. I knew Van Dam could still like go to a level. I didn't know what that level was fully going to be, and I didn't know how much he was kind of going to be sort of willing to do in the match, but he was willing to go out there and do everything. Jack Perry held his own with everything. Good match. I don't know if RVD will be back, but would be mad at it. We still need Too Cold Scorpio, though. We still need Too Cold Scorpio.
We need Too Cold. We definitely need Too Cold in AEW. We're going to keep lobbying for that. And yeah, I mean, RVD, it's not like he's not staying in good shape nowadays. I mean, he's got Katie Forbes and their friends around. I'm sure that they've got activities that keep them in good shape. You know, there's you see the tweets. RVD is
I've seen him getting kicked off Twitch, getting Impact kicked off Twitch.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, RVD is out there living his best life at 50. Like, that guy, I could only hope to be as cool as Rob Van Dam at his age. Like, he's killing it.
Yeah, Van Dam and Katie Forbes, when Impact aired on Twitch, they basically had like a threesome on Twitch, and it got Impact banned on Twitch.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what happened.
Yes, it was that segment. That segment got them banned on Twitch.
Dude, there is so much worse than that going on Twitch. Anyway, whatever.
My favorite Katie Forbes RVD thing is when RVD's beaten up. I think it was like Eddie Edwards, and Katie Forbes just like twerking just while RVD is just beating up somebody on the stage.
I love that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we need that. We need Katie Forbes in AEW just like twerking while
Katie Forbes is cool as hell, honestly. She might be like a fun interview sometime. Like she seems interesting. Like but anyway, like Rob Van Dam Dam's the man, dude. Like that guy's cool as hell. So like, and he is different. He's just different. Like even back in the day, there was no one else doing like the airbrush like singlets and stuff with like all the art that he was. Just everything was different about what he was doing. Yeah, massive shout out to RVD. I mean, I hope he sticks around in AEW a bit. Like they could get more out of him on the show. I mean, he's still over. He can still hit all of his stuff. Like it just has to be stuff that makes sense for him to be involved in. But
yeah.
Dude, hell yeah. Very happy with how things went last night for him.
If you haven't watched the match, go check it out. And, if you're a big-time fan of RVD, you'll probably enjoy the nostalgia stuff. If you've never seen RVD, go watch his old stuff. Go watch the ECW stuff on the cock.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
New Japan.
Oh, I forgot we had this. I was like, we're just skipping for the bumper for no reason. I forgot we had it for the topic. Okay, yeah.
No, we have New Japan. They're down to their final four. It's Okada, Ospreay, Naito, and Evil. And Caden sends a super chat that says someone needs to take Evil away from Gato.
That's fair.
I was shocked that Evil beat Sonata. Maybe I shouldn't have been. But it was Sonata's only loss in the tournament. He didn't lose during the round robin stuff. I don't think Evil's winning this G1. Oh man, he's facing Okada. It feels like they're going Okada Ospreay for the finals, which makes sense. But maybe Naito, like it seems like they've tried to reestablish Naito a little bit throughout the G1. So I could see Okada and Naito in the finals. Regardless, I think Okada is going to beat Evil. Please do not put Evil in the finals. But now Evil is going to get a title shot because he was the only person to pin Sonata during the G1. I don't understand this fascination with Evil. It's just, it's not good stuff. And it hasn't been, it took in New Japan through a downturn during the pandemic when they put the title on him. The matches, you don't talk about repetitive matches. Like his matches are repetitive when it comes to the layout and the structure and everything. It's not good. Okada's fantastic. I'm honestly not looking forward to the match. I'm just not, because I kind of just know how it's going to go. Hopefully Okada wins. But who do you think is actually going to win the G1 between these four?
Well, so first off, I agree with everything you said about Evil. I mean, when he won the world title, that was like a dark period for New Japan. People were like, because that was also because like people for the longest time, people thought Sonata was going to finally break out, and then when Evil did it instead, everyone was like, what? And then for him to win last night or this morning, whenever that technically happened,
this morning,
for him to win that, because I saw this morning like some of the clips from it, and I was like, damn, because to my knowledge, Sonata hasn't lost at all since winning the title. So like this was his first loss since like April or whatever, and because that when he won the title, was it April? I think something like that. So like this is first loss in 4 months. It's too Evil of all people, and like you said, that'll set up some sort of match between them. As far as the G1 goes, like I've honestly since the start of it, I thought Ospreay was going to win this thing, and he should, in my opinion. I think it'll be Ospreay and Okada. Naito, it's funny you say that about them like rebuilding him. I feel like they do that every single year though. It's like at some point each year they're like, all right, it's time to rebuild Naito. You know, it's like every now and then he actually wins the title, and then just like nothing happens, and then they do the rebuild again, so, you know, I'd personally go with Ospreay, but like it's hard to pick against Okada when it comes to anything because like he's their guy. So like I could totally see that happening. I think it'd be a really bad idea to have Evil win. And that's not even me being a hater, honestly. I just don't think I'm not hating on him just to hate on him. I just don't think he's very good. Like he's like not that entertaining. I don't like the gimmick. Not particularly good in the ring, and the guys he wrestles are just like way better than he is. They're like a totally different league than he is. He's very character based too. Once again, I just don't like the character. So it's like there's a lot against Evil for me. You know, I just not, and I know a lot of fans agree. So it's like, you know, I'd personally have Ospreay win this thing. That'd be my pick.
I think it's going to be Naito, and Caden kind of says Naito Sonata makes the most sense for Wrestle Kingdom, and that's where it feels like they're leaning towards. On that, again, they've really tried to heat up Naito throughout since Sonata has won the title. They've tried to heat up Naito, so I think he's going to win it. I mean, his moment came at Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago, and then immediately followed by the pandemic. And they took the title off of him to put it on Evil, which did not work at all. But I think actual run now that we're past everything, and I think he's going to end up facing Sonata at Wrestle Kingdom. Sonata winning, Caden just says he's bad. Yeah, people. So Ashok is saying before Evil won the title, wasn't he being praised by fans back then? I don't remember.
Not really.
I could be wrong, but everybody was like, Sonata's the guy. Sonata's the guy of those two, and people were kind of stunned that they went with Evil over Sonata during that. I don't remember Evil getting that kind of praise. It was always Sonata from my recollection of things.
I feel the same way, but also to be fair, I don't follow I followed New Japan really closely back then, but I don't as often nowadays. So like the Naito Sonata stuff, and the more that I think about with like LIJ history and stuff and all that, like I'm sure that actually makes a ton of sense. I like Naito. I have nothing against them. It's just they're constantly feel like they're in a process of rebuilding him, but I'd be fine with Naito versus Sonata at Wrestle Kingdom. That makes sense. That'd be a good match too.
Feels like that's where they're going. Quickly on other, because we both watched it. We both like this kind of stuff. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. What'd you think of that?
I thought Nate looked like he could fight another 10 rounds. You know, the cardio is never going to go, but Jake's just a better boxer. Jake straight up beat him. You know, I can't talk any trash about it one way or another, honestly. Like, I know Nick is calling for a fight against either Logan or Jake now, which I want to see. I want to see Nick get in there in a boxing ring, just for the hell of it. He looked bad against Robbie Lawler. I know.
Yeah, that's where like maybe boxing will be a little bit better, but the last time we saw Nick fight was very sad. It was very sad.
It was rough. And Nick's probably my favorite fighter of all time. So like that was hard to watch, but But yeah, Nate versus Jake, it was a spectacle. Like the crowd was super into it. It was a packed house. A lot of people watched it. I thought it was a good fight though. And Jake legitimately won, which is like another just feather in his cap. Like he's legitimately beaten Nate Diaz. He's legitimately beaten Anderson Silva. He knocked Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren to another dimension. You know, I mean, like Jake Paul's legitimate. People, you know,
Wait a sec. Oh, Jake Paul beat Anderson Silva? I don't. Oh,
yeah. Jake beat him by decision.
Oh, I forgot about that fight. Honestly.
Yeah, like he's beaten like legitimate guys. I mean, like these are all guys who are legitimate in MMA, of course. But Anderson has multiple boxing wins too. He beat Chavez Jr. like a year before he lost to Jake. I mean, like, so anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Like Jake's legit. People can hate all they want and not like his personality and all that stuff. Similar to Logan, I get all that, but like Jake's doing very, very well for himself in boxing, and he legitimately beat Nate Diaz.
Yeah, he easily won that match. You know, Nate, people are saying, our Paul Jar finish this. It feels like Nate didn't even try. That's sort of just how Nate fights. Even in MMA, like, especially when it comes to like the striking portion of things, he's very like, all right, let me kind of throw my loopy punches and everything. There's never been a lot of power behind that. He's never had just like kind of one shot knockout power. And like, if he was going to beat Jake, it would have to just be by decision and accumulation. And you know, he wasn't able to do that largely because he ran out of time. The old Diaz quote of we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. I love that.
Yes.
But that's how it is with the Diaz brothers. Like that's their fighting style. And in MMA it works a lot better because one, there's grappling at play and their cardio is otherworldly in that, but those accumulation shots add up in MMA, and guys tire out a little bit easier in MMA with all of the aspects combined. It's not quite like that in boxing. And Jake didn't even look like he got into a fight, honestly. Like Nate got his shots, but he just couldn't put him away or anything. So
yeah, it's like that. It's a classic like frustrating Diaz thing, like you said, where like they went out there, they lost, like Nate lost, but like he didn't really get beat down, and he's just gonna keep talking like, so what? Like if the fight kept going, I was gonna beat you, and I made a ton of money, and this is MMA, I would kill you. So like this wasn't a real fight anyway. That's how they view it. So anyway, yeah. Then they made Jake and Nate, or Nate specifically, probably made more money doing that than he did in any of his UFC fights. So good for him.
All right, now we'll probably see Jake against the winner of KSI and Tommy Fury, since they're fighting.
Tommy's going to wipe the floor with KSI.
Yeah, Tommy beat Jake. That's Jake's only loss, and Tommy's about the only A-Shock asking like has Jake faced an experienced boxer. Tommy was the most experienced
Tommy's
boxer.
legitimate.
Yeah, Anderson Silva has some boxing experience, but even a lot of his boxing experience were against guys that aren't very good. That Tito Ortiz knockout's legitimately one of my favorites.
That was a free show thing. Yeah, but yeah,
that ruled.
That was like 30 seconds. Oh, that was yeah.
That was fantastic. So yeah, we will see what's next. We got Logan Paul against Dylan Dennis. That probably won't happen. Yeah.
Dylan Dennis will not show up to that.
All right, real quick, we got to go on Indie Spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Jeff Hardy was at GCW on Friday night in Detroit. He confronted Blake Christian, and then Nick Gage came out, and they showed some mutual love for each other. And Nick Gage says if Jeff Hardy wants to show up and get the pizza cutter, he'll give him a pizza cutter. What did you think of Jeff Hardy's appearance at GCW?
It was cool. It was just really cool to see like him like overlap into that world. I love that venue in Detroit that they ran this My Name Is show out of. You know, it's funny because like Jeff clearly not super familiar with the product. Like he came out and he like called it game-changing wrestling and stuff. You know, little things like that where I'm like, I don't know how tapped into GCW Jeff really is, but he's such a legend and he's so like he's such a hero to like that fan base and to so many of the people that are, I mean, pretty much everyone who works for GCW, I'm sure grew up a Jeff Hardy fan. So he got a super big reception. It was cool. And also it was, I don't necessarily like this about this, but like Jeff Hardy came out so Blake Christian defended his title in the main event. He's standing in the ring. He's basically saying like, hey, finally I'm closing a show as the main event and like sending y'all home as the champion. And Jeff came out and on the microphone was like, he basically said like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, this is your champion. Like, who is this guy? And to me, I was like, kind of makes GCW look kind of lame. Like that Jeff Hardy doesn't know who the champion of the company is. It's kind of lame. But at the same time, the idea was like, it's Jeff Hardy. I mean, Jeff Hardy's here. And then Masha Slamovich came out. She kind of helped distract Blake Christian so Hardy could hit her with the twist of fate, the little like stunner twist of fate version he does. And then it was cool because Nick Gage came out, and then, Jeff and Nick, basically said they had a bunch of mutual respect for one another, and Jeff helped close the show off with the MDK off and day thing with Nick, and it was a cool scene. That's why I wanted to spotlight it. Like, it's just, you never really expected to see Jeff Hardy like in GCW before it was announced, and then like the fact that him and Nick Gage are sharing the ring, and there's a possibility that Jeff maybe does a match for GCW or something in the future. Like, I could see it happening, like at least one. And it'd probably be against Blake Christian for the title or against Nick Gage out of like mutual respect or something. And I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool to see Jeff Hardy involved in GCW.
I don't think we're going to get a Jeff Hardy match in GCW. Like the environment would be cool. I think we both watched the Hardys and the Young Bucks last night.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, the spectacle of it, there's enough shortcuts that they can do. Like, but
I think GCW, like, I don't think Jeff has taken like light tubes and stuff from Nick Gage, but I do think Jeff would certainly be willing to do his risk stuff. He's always gonna kind of be willing to do that. But the Hardys they kind of just are what they are at this point, and it's no knock on them. Like, they're still over, Jeff certainly. But look, man, that match against the Bucks was just it was there. It was unfortunately not what I think a lot of people were hoping for, and I ain't blaming the Young Bucks for that. So I don't know if Jeff Hardy's gonna be back in GCW. I'm with you of like, hey, this is your champion. Who's this guy? Not the best look in the world, but GCW fans probably don't even care about that. Honestly, they're probably just like, yeah, fuck Blake Christian is more of anything there. So it was cool. It was cool to see him in that environment. Whether it leads to anything, I don't know. Maybe he can work a tag match with Nick Gage. Maybe we can see something like that at some point.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And then the other indie spotlight is Marcus Mathers winning the E2 Key to the East Championship. Jensen, your comments on this?
Yes. Shout out to Marcus Mathers for becoming the new Expect the Unexpected Key to the East champion. Masha Slamovich was the champion going into the match. Slamovich was like kind of double pinned by Mathers and Broadway. Like, the match was Marcus Mathers versus Masha Slamovich versus Ken Broadway. Broadway did like this bridging German suplex, and Mathers like came on top with like a jackknife pin. So like it was like they both held her down for the 3 count. So we were guaranteed a new champion. Like, I mean, it was an elimination style 3-way. So Slamovich got eliminated. It came down to Mathers and Broadway. Eventually, Mathers hit his 450 on Broadway to get the championship. And Mathers is a guy who hopefully you'll hear from soon on the spotlight. He's someone who's definitely on our radar and has been for a long time. I've been watching him since he was a teenager, and I don't even know how old he is now, probably early 20s. But he's absolutely killing it. He was a guy who, one of like the main people that like really came out of the H2O school with Tremont and those guys. And he's been doing just great work, and he's only getting better, and he'll be a major like national mainstream wrestling star at some point in the near future. Like, the talent's there, and he just keeps getting better. So I wanted to give a shout out to Marcus Mathers today on the show for becoming the new ETU Key to the East champion. And if you're unfamiliar with Marcus Mathers, I would highly recommend just go on Cage Match and just pick out some matches that you see him against any wrestlers you like, or really anything. Like, all of his matches are good. Singles matches, he has a great tag team, Wasted Youth, with Dylan McKay. Those guys are awesome together as well. So like, check out Marcus Mathers stuff. And once again, congratulations for becoming the new ETU East champion.
Yeah, shout out to Marcus Mathers. We do hope to have him on the show at some point in the near future. But he's one of those independent guys that if you have not checked out yet, you should probably get familiar with. Jensen, I know you got to run. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yes, I have to go clock in for the shoot job. Thank you to everyone who watched today, and thank you to Jeremy as always. You can follow me on Twitter at @FightTalk_, on X at @FightTalk_, FIGHTTALK_. You can use code FightTalk, all as one word, no spaces, on independentwrestling.tv. please listen to the Spotlight. Please listen to the Weekender podcast. It's over on FightfulSelect.com. Normally record those on Sundays, sometimes on Mondays, depending on what's going on Sundays, like wrestling wise and stuff. So look out for that on Sundays, FightfulSelect.com. If you don't see it on a Sunday, check it on Monday, because it's almost always up by Monday night at the very latest. Please stick around and check out this interview with Teil Rhodes. Obviously, y'all know I'm a massive Cody fan, so this was a really, really big deal. I'm going to say it right now. I'm not going to let anyone watch it, but me and Jeremy have interviewed a lot of people together, and Jeremy knows this, and he can vouch for this. I never mess up the intros. Like, I do make a really good point of like doing really good intros for people. I botched Teal's initial intro, and it was the most embarrassing thing I've been a part of on this show. And luckily, we edited it out. Maybe one day we'll release it as like as an Easter egg for y'all or something. But you will not be seeing that. But just so you know, that's how it all started. And then from there, once we redid the intro and then went on with the real conversation, things went really well, I think. And I think it was really good chat. And obviously this is Cody's sister, so it's the conversation's heavy on like Cody's childhood upbringing, high school wrestling career, the Peacock documentary, the Dusty Rhodes Foundation, CODY LIES, all that kind of stuff. So I hope y'all enjoy the interview, and it was an honor to have Teal as a part of the show. So enjoy that interview. Good to see you, Jeremy. Good to see y'all in the chat, and I'm going to go work for the next 9 hours.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it as always, Jensen.
Also, sorry, really quick. This Saturday morning, Fightful Overbooked, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself and SP3 review Heavyweights, the old Disney movie. Heavyweights, me and SP3, join us, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Fightful Overbooked. All right, see y'all.
There you go. All right. Bye, Jensen. You can watch that. Yes, SP3 and Stephen Jensen reviewing Heavyweights on Fightful Overbooked on Saturday. All right, let's get into it. Creator Spotlight with Teil Rhodes. So Jensen did mess up the intro. So you can kind of, he says later on at the end of the interview, I think what he actually says, but you can see as we begin, me kind of laughing. Teal gives a round of applause that he got it right the second time around. Jensen's never messed up the intro, and I think he was a little shook by the presence of Teil Rhodes. It was a member of the Rhodes family, and I think everyone knows how big of a fan of Cody Rhodes Stephen Jensen is. So the fact that we got a member of the Rhodes family on the show, he was a little. If we ever get Cody Rhodes on this show, he will not be able to speak. It'll be he will have to send me the questions. He will just not be able to speak. Teal was a lot of fun, very gracious with her time. To peel back the curtain a little bit, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I knew that she's Cody's sister and everything. I didn't know how much she would be kind of willing to talk about, how much she even wanted to talk about, but she was really fun. There's a very fun moment of addressing CODY LIES. There's a story of the neck tattoo and everything. I really enjoyed this conversation with Teal, and I never get nervous or scared for interviews. Just some interviews, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to get out of this person. I don't know how much they really want to do this. I never think anybody actually wants to talk to us, but I never know with these interviews. And this was one of those where I'm just like, I don't know. This could go either way. This could be good, or this could be, oh man, it just wasn't a lot there. She just wasn't, or this person just wasn't, willing to talk about a lot of stuff. And it was, or maybe it was just, I don't want to say combative, but I just don't know. Because if you see her on Twitter, she defends her brother. And I respect that. And I bring that up to her. It's like, I respect how much you were ride or die for your brother. So I just didn't know what we were going to get out of this, but it was a lot of fun. Honestly, one of my favorite interviews that we've done. So here we go, everybody. Teil Rhodes, Cody Rhodes' sister, leader of the Dusty Rhodes Foundation. Everyone can check that out. The links below. Dusty Rhodes Foundation, Teil Rhodes, and the Creator Spotlight.
Creator Spotlight, the interview portion of the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and our guest today is the daughter of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and the sister of my favorite wrestler of all time, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Our guest today is Teil Rhodes. How you doing today, Teal? Thanks for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm great. How are you guys?
We are doing fantastic.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Now, this week is a big week. Well, we just had SummerSlam, and it was a very big victory for Cody this weekend.
Huge.
Yes. How are you feeling coming off of this? Now that he has not only defeated Brock Lesnar in their trilogy, but also now Brock has officially acknowledged him and given him the endorsement as well.
Yes. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I wasn't feeling great about it when he was just getting just tossed for back and forth in that match. There was a couple times I was like, I don't know if it's gonna go our way. But he came back and I thought it was a great match.
Yes, I agree. And your mom was there, Michelle. She was a part of that, big part of that story. What was that like, seeing her as a part of it, and also you being a part of it as well, as in the crowd during the story too?
It's funny because she is the least want to be on camera person that you could ever meet in your whole life. Fame, all of it. She is just so naturally not like that. It's funny that she is always right there in the spotlight. But I think she really liked it. She really wanted him to win. And Brandy's dad, Otis, was sitting with her as well in Brandy's hometown. So I thought that was a really cool moment for them to share too.
Yeah.
You tweeted afterwards like you always liked Brock Lesnar. Is that true? Brock Lesnar, good guy now. He's fine. He's fine with everything.
Always liked him. I liked the cowboy hat. Always thought that was a good look for him. I like the braid. I mean, I've been a fan. So yeah, just gonna totally pretend like all my other tweets.
Yeah, it's funny because most people who watch this show know that I was on the same high school wrestling team as Cody back in the day for a couple years, and it's really bizarre seeing this and really cool seeing this for me because I remember Brock being on the show on WWE because I was in high school from 02 to 06. I think Cody had to have been there from 2000, 2004. So Brock was new in the WWE. So right. I remember us all talking about him and the wrestling annex. He's on TV wrestling Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's wrestling Kurt Angle and stuff. And now Cody's wrestling that guy 20 years later, biggest story in the company. It's just wild how 20 years that guy has had that kind of longevity. And now Cody's on that level, of a Brock Lesnar in the company, which is just wild.
I know it's just been such a journey for Cody. And there's just been so much just fighting for it, so much hard work for that spot that he's in. And then for Brock still to be at that level. People talk about part-time wrestlers, but Brock is still, a serious dude. So it's crazy to think, how much time's gone by and where Cody's at now.
And, also I want to piggyback off you mentioning, being a fan and everything. I saw you tweet that you also are a big fan of Logan Paul. And I too am a massive fan of what I'm seeing out of Logan Paul on the WWE television. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Whenever a celebrity comes in, or there's a new wrestling, property, I always have casting opinions. I always have a lot of opinions about that because I think it's been harder for wrestling, performers and fans to be part of the mainstream conversation and entertainment. So I feel like I always I'm looking at that celeb, can they do it? But I think he's been great. I've been really impressed by him. I've never met him in the ring, and he's a great bad guy. He just has that bad dude energy.
Last one on SummerSlam, the moment that Cody did share with Brock. Triple H said it was unplanned. Cody said, I thought he was going to hit me. What's going through your mind as they shake hands and you see this?
Yeah, I'm a product of an old school wrestling mentality. So I never trust that is a hand raise or a handshake. So I didn't know what was going to happen. And I thought it was really cool. How, not a lot of people get that kind of respect from someone like a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment. And a real, there can't really be a bigger endorsement of okay, Cody still in line. He's got to be the guy. The story needs to be finished. I am along for this ride. I was very much hoping that was going to happen at WrestleMania this year. A lot of us were, but we're still with him. We know it's going to happen. And that is a big vote of confidence seeing what happened at SummerSlam.
It was a quiet, sad van ride back from SoFi to the hotel where we were all staying. And it was all of us in the box in one van together, and it was bleak. So I think Cody said, there are many pages in a story because, finish the stories become such a thing. But, we're still on that story, and we do want it finished. We want it finished, as a family, as his sister. I think it would be great.
Well, obviously the documentary that just dropped, Becoming Cody Rhodes, a big, I mean, pretty much the focal point of the story is this in this journey of Cody to finish the story. And what's been the reception you've gotten from the documentary? Because they're saying that it's like the most watched documentary WWE's produced all year, and you were a big part of that. And like, how's it feel to be a part of that, the whole process, and like the reception so far out of it?
The reception's been amazing, and even a lot of fans that had kind of left and come back, who came back from Cody or maybe followed him, got people to watch it. And, it was a long time in the making. So I'm just proud that it's been received so well and that so many people are watching it, and some non-wrestling fans, which for us, that's always a big thing, is get more fans, get more people to watch, pro wrestling, sports entertainment. But it was a great experience doing it. That was a great team. The interviews were pretty easy, and I thought that did it great. And I got my credit for, the things that I named, and I got my good line in there. So that's what I wanted.
Was there anything in the documentary that you had wished they covered a little bit more, from whether it was Cody growing up or from his career?
No, I think if anything, we're pretty much an open book, just because of the years in the business. Some of the stuff I will say, the footage of his service is really hard to watch. And, I knew it was in there, but I think we shared just enough because you want to keep some things for yourself. But I think that the coolest thing that I hadn't seen was some of that wrestling footage, the amateur wrestling footage that you talked about in it. They got that from the state. That's not something that we had as a family. So I thought that was really cool to see.
You don't have like footage of Cody wrestling in high school?
Not what they showed in the doc. They got that from somewhere else.
I might be able to help you out. I still have some VHSs, I think, from then. I might be able to help you out with a little bit. That definitely should have some of his matches on there still. I kept like all that stuff.
I think that we have probably some like that old like little one that you put in Dusty had some crazy equipment. I'm sure we've got it somewhere, but that's nothing I had ever seen before. So it was cool to see it for the first time.
Very cool. And that was also the first time, like when he won the state championship, was the first time he was billed as Cody Rhodes on television, which I know is also kind of like a point of contention a little bit too. Like when the whole like losing the last name thing was going on, it was like, well, technically, like I was on television as Cody Rhodes before all of this.
Yeah. We had some real gripes that people, after he passed, people really felt like we were in our feelings about a lot of stuff, but there was some stuff that was pretty valid. And the Rhodes thing was obviously, that was a huge one.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I appreciate about you is you are very ride or die for your brother. And I didn't have brothers and sisters growing up, but I really appreciate that you, and I know people might take it the wrong way when you respond on socials or anything, but like everyone should have a sister like this, honestly.
My big thing is just, you cannot like a performer in my family. As a fan, that's totally your prerogative. But when you are saying things that are not true and you're rewriting that history, and that's something that really happened with Dusty, that Cody and I, it's social media age. You can get on there and you could be like, actually, that is not the truth. Like people are, before the doc came out, they were saying, oh, well, it's not going to cover this, it's not going to cover that. They hadn't even seen it. So I feel like I will sometimes get into that murkiness, but for the most part, it's so much love from fans. But I will set the record straight on some family business.
And that's one thing that I've enjoyed as a fan of Cody. I've enjoyed seeing all the outpouring love since he's coming back to WWE. Like, it seems like there's always going to be, you know, that certain sector who's just not going to like anything. But for the most part, it's all like, oh, Cody's fantastic. We're so happy that he's here. We're so happy that he's back. Like, to you, when he returned and everything, what was that moment like for you watching his return, kind of knowing like this is where he wanted to be?
I really couldn't believe it. It was, I'm not going to do the cinema thing, but it was like, I couldn't believe it. And there was just all these things that clicked into place, you know, it being in Texas, it being, you know, where he was Stardust when he left. I mean, that last Mania that he was on, I mean, it was just this kind of, you know, destiny thing happening. But I thought it was great. And I think it was great to see, you know, how much he'd grown and that he was just presented, you know, with all of the tools that he had kind of, you know, like you see in the doc, that he had picked up along the way.
Yeah. Some of the stuff also kind of going back to, you know, I know you mentioned you wish there was a bit more of like his amateur wrestling and some of the stuff you hadn't seen before. But someone I was really happy to see in the documentary was Coach Steve Day. He's a guy who's like a real unsung hero. And like for a lot of us, like, you know, he taught me a lot. And he was a guy I was honestly terrified of for the 4 years I wrestled for him. Yeah, very, very scary. I mean,
Coach Day looks the same. I don't know what kind of program he's on, but I'm definitely interested in whatever that is, because when I saw him at the premiere, I hadn't seen him, you know, in maybe like 5 years or something, and I was like, looks the same. He looks great. Yeah,
he does.
You know, he did a lot to build up wrestling programs in the state of Georgia, so he definitely deserves those props for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome to see him as a part of that documentary, and something that, you know, I brought up to you when around the time I believe it was the A&E documentary came out for Dusty, and you were asking for like memories of Dusty, and something that I think people should know about him that I don't know if I talked about on the show or not before, but like I just think it's so cool because I know they really try to highlight, and Dusty, or Cody rather, always tries to highlight like how their Dusty was for him, like, you know, and for y'all. And it was one of the coolest things ever that like Dusty would come to our matches and not only just like be there as a fan, he would be like grilling hot dogs with the parents. He'd be like pulling stubs that can add like the tickets and stuff. Like he would just wanted to be like every other parent, and everyone knew who Dusty Rhodes was. It wasn't like he was like low key, like no one like it. So it was just really cool how just like humble and like he was just a good dude. So I think people should just know like he was just like every other parent when he was around. It was really cool.
He had this thing with the Mannings in football, Archie Manning, how Archie like never, like you didn't see Archie when the Mannings were playing. He was up there somewhere in the stands, and he was always talking about Archie Manning. I was like, what are you talking about? But that's what it was. He really just wanted to be supporting Cody and, you know, watching the matches. And when he first started wrestling, he didn't even know the scoring of amateur wrestling. Like he didn't really, and he learned, you know, got really into it, you know, as a parent, which was cool.
Cody, he's done a couple interviews with Fightful recently, and in one of the interviews, he was talking. He said, "Your parents had baby books, and your baby book is about 5 books." Oh, have you heard this story before?
I'm not going to do the Cody lies, Cody liars. Either way, if that is true or not, but he would count the pictures of us, like the portraiture that was hanging, and if there was more of Kristen or Dustin, he liked it to be the same. He liked it to be his baby book is just as big as mine. I think the quality of my photos are better, but I think they're the same size. I'm going to go on record and saying that is maybe a slight exaggeration. Yeah.
Okay. That actually is.
That's tracks. Yeah.
I like you brought that up because one of my questions actually was about Cody Lies, because I wanted to know if you had any other just good kind of examples of him stretching the truth that come to mind. And then I had another question to piggyback that if you after you have some of those, it sounds like.
We were at an acting school together in LA. I don't know how it got brought up in conversation, but he told the story basically. He still had like a gap in his teeth that my parents didn't get him braces because I needed a pageant dress, and that I would only get my dresses made from this like famous robe maker, dressmaker. And he had like a whole backstory for it and everything. And I'm pretty sure he just didn't want braces. I did have some expensive dresses, so there is truth in that. But yeah, I just think he didn't want to get the braces.
Yeah, that's funny. The other question I had for you, kind of based around that, is do you have any like good like nicknames that Cody's come up for people that he has said to you? Because like I just remember in high school, like he always like there was like nicknames for like everything that like those guys would have, and it was always so funny to me. I'll never forget there was a referee who kind of danced around funny like when he'd be refereeing, so we called him Travolta. Like I just remember little things like that, and I've heard Cody likes to give nicknames. If you have any good ones.
He does like to give nicknames, but the problem with that is then when you have to meet people in real life and like it'll be, and my dad did that too. He was a big, like the guy who helped us move was Red River Pete. His name wasn't even Pete. I don't know how that, but I thought it was Pete. There was, yeah, I mean, they both were big on nicknames. I will meet people and I'll be like, oh, you know, Joe, whatever. And he's like, oh, my name's Charles. And I'm like, well, I didn't know. And how he is in like in the phones, in the group chats, you'll be like, you know, who is, you know, Leary Bill or whatever. It's like, you don't know. But it's exciting to meet people in person and see how different their names are from the names that are stored in Cody's phone.
That's so funny to me.
I am so fascinated by Cody because I listen to a lot of Cody interviews, and he does a lot of interviews, but he is such a great storyteller, and he always adds these little like anecdotes to the new stuff. The infamous the fuck on me story that he does, that referee tried to
That's classic, but that is real. I'm pretty sure that is no lies in that one. No lies.
I 100% believe it's real, but like I've heard that story a bunch of times, and then recently, just a few months ago, he's retelling it, and he adds this bit that I'd never heard before. Is like, I was snorting protein powder before this match, and I'm like, where's that from? This has not been told before.
Oh, okay. There's some new info. Well, you know, memory. Sometimes you get older and you remember that you were doing something weird like that. But yeah, he is a great storyteller for sure.
One of my favorite people to cover because all of his interviews are just fascinating to me with the stories that he will tell. I can just imagine what being around him all the time would be. And I mean, you've shared some great insight on the Cody lies of it's like, are you kidding here or not? I imagine sometimes it can be tough to decipher.
Yep, sometimes it is. It's that, are you being for real? But yeah. He definitely, he's tricky. He's a tricky one.
One thing I wanted to ask about was Rhodes to the Top. I love this reality show because we got more Cody, and Brandy is one of my favorite like performers. I love her as a performer. Never met her, but fantastic performer. And you were part of that show as well. What was that experience like?
Well, I think we can say that I was the clear star of
yes.
Rhodes to the Top. Shooting a reality show during COVID protocols was pretty wild for sure. And when we shot the pilot, I mean, it was full on doing the quarantining, all the tests all the time. It was a lot. I will say, you know, I don't think reality TV stars get paid enough because those are long shoots. It's long hours. Rhodes to the Top was a lot of fun. I wish that, there's a lot of stuff we shot, family stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor. There's a hilarious scene where Cody and Dustin and me and my mom are Dustin's wife. We're trying to cook dinner to take to Brandy, and it went so off the rails. We shot this thing for like 2 hours that the producer after was like, yeah, we can't use any of this. But I feel like people would have liked it because Dustin's really funny, and my mom just keeps leaving she's all mic'd up and everything to go outside to smoke. She just keeps leaving, and all these people are like, does she not, Mom, we're filming. No, she doesn't care. She did quit smoking. I just want to say that so I don't get in trouble. But Roads to the Top was fun, but it was definitely work.
Did Rose to the Top and just kind of with the camera being in front of you and then having to do the sort of sit down interviews, did that make the documentary stuff easier?
Not for me, because I was kind of burnt out from doing those interviews, and some of the subject matter, especially for my dad's A&E doc, which also came out, this year. We worked really hard on that. It was just, that subject matter was so heavy, and Rose to the Top was definitely, they wanted that like soapy, reality TV stuff. So it was different.
Speaking of Dustin a little bit, like what's Dustin's secret? Like the fact that he is still he's performing at like the highest level of his career still, it feels like.
Dustin's just, obviously I'm biased, but is one of the best, in-ring performers, really in wrestling of all time. And his nickname from Cody is Benjamin Button. He's the Benjamin Button because he's like aging in reverse. And they call him Chicken also, which I think that might be because he has skinny legs. I don't know, but I always call Dustin Goldie, and I did forever. So Dustin's got a lot of nicknames too. But I don't know what his secret is. Maybe I think it's just probably clean living, and Dustin works out like a ton.
I know. Oh, sorry, Jamie. Do you have a question?
Oh, I have to ask about your thoughts on Cody's neck tattoo and when he got that. What you thought of this thing?
I found the tattoo artist. I booked the appointment. I thought it was going on his chest. Thought he had the one for our dad. I thought, he's a grown man. He can get a tattoo. That's fine. And then when we all saw it, we were just, it was so big, when we first saw it, that we were like, yeah, so I didn't even want to say that because, the feedback early on about the tattoo. Now it's such a big part.
Yeah, now it's iconic, honestly.
It is iconic. And, one thing about Cody, we disagree, but he usually ends up being right in the end. But I didn't tell anybody. My mom asked, like, no, I can't believe that he did that. I had no idea. Yeah.
I think Cody even said, like, I thought it was going to be smaller. Like, they put it on and it was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be small. And then it gets done. And it's like, oh, this is gigantic.
Yeah, that was a day. That was a lot of, my aunts, the Cuban, the Tias in Tampa, that was a real lively phone tree. Like when there's an emergency, it activates the phone tree usually. That classified under emergency text chain. Yeah.
This is again the brilliance of Cody in that, like, we all see this thing. It's like, oh, what is that thing on his neck? And now, as we just mentioned, like now it's the giant CGI during his entrance, and like the logo is everywhere. It's like he has turned this into the biggest positive I have ever seen, and I don't know how many people can do that.
Yeah, sorry, they have it on their hats and their backpacks.
Yeah. Jensen's got all the
got
Cody
the hat,
merch.
they got the Nightmare Family shades and everything here. So I'm wearing a Cody Rhodes. You got to do the work. See you got to do the work. To me, is the new MTXE. Like that's how I always, that MTXE was our high school wrestling slogan. So and also it feels like it's very much the new like never give up. Like Cody very much feels like he is the new for the kids. Like no one else is staying around that I've ever seen like this for half hours after the show is everything shutting down, taking pictures with people, signing autographs for people. So it's just really cool. So yes, I love that. I love that logo. Absolutely.
Cody would stay out there all night. He would, as long as, you know, somebody was out there waiting for him, he would stay out there all night. And, you know, I know that he's tired and being on the road and stuff, but that's something I know for certain that he genuinely enjoys.
Something else we wanted to talk to you about tonight, you know, for sure, was the Dusty Rhodes Foundation as well. Can you please tell us all about that and like everything people can do to like get involved?
Yes, so we started the Dusty Rhodes Foundation. We've been going a little over a year now. You can find us at DustyRhodesFoundation.org, and you can find us at the Dusty Rhodes Foundation on Instagram. We would love people to get involved. What we're doing is we're not keeping any fees. You know, your donation is totally tax deductible. All of the people that have signed for us, that have done these cons and stuff, have done it on their own dollar. So, you know, they've donated that to us. Some of our partners like WrestleCon, this last one that Brandy did, they donated the booth for us. So we're just trying to fill those gaps in communities where, I mean, sports, like everything's so expensive now, but sports, people are just getting priced out of sports. And we really think it's a shame. And my dad was so big on youth sports being a way for kids, not only to stay out of trouble, but to learn some life skills. And I mean, we've given to a wrestling program, you know, we'll do baseball, we'll sponsor kids just to play like rec basketball leagues. Obviously, Brandy just did an awesome organization in Detroit called Dream Skate Academy, where they teach, you know, these inner city kids not only how to ice skate, but they, you know, give them the time on the ice. And that's really expensive for people. So we've definitely diversified, but any money that we're getting, besides the fees that, like, you know, our PayPal or, you know, Pro Wrestling Tees takes, which isn't a lot. They also give us an awesome break on our merch, goes right to already vetted, awesome youth sports organizations all over the country.
Guys, the link to check out the Dusty Rhodes Foundation is in the link below, or in the description below, so everyone can click that link there and, you know, go donate, learn more about it as well. They got a website set up, so yeah, go support the foundation and the youth sports. Till our last one that we ask everybody, the favorite thing you have, or the coolest or favorite thing you have in your room.
In my room?
Yeah,
it could be in the room you're
house,
in.
Like,
yeah,
if you can get it for us, even better. But like, if it's like a hassle, you can just tell us about it.
Okay, I have two good things in this room.
Okay.
You know, Cody obviously tells the story about the Rolex that my dad sold. I have the other piece, which is my mom's Rolex, which he bought her. And when I think he won the world title, I'm not sure which time, he put the diamonds on the bezel. So this is the one half of the famous Rhodes Rolex that we now know, you know, was sold. And then this little guy I have here, this little Dusty gnome, is something that Justin and his lovely wife Terrell gave all of us. And for different holidays, we put like a Santa hat on it, or like, and it's just kind of like a cool little thing to have. The kids like to, you know, put different stuff on it. And it's just a nice reminder, you know, that it's, you know, polka dot gnome, you know, not to take everything so serious.
That's awesome. That gnome is sweet.
Yes. I love it.
Till, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let everyone know where they can find you at, where they can support you at. And again, plug the Dusty Rhodes Foundation again.
Yes, thank you guys so much, both of you, for having me and letting me chat. I'm at Twitter at Teal Margaret, and you can find the Dusty Rhodes Foundation on Instagram and online at thedustyrhodesfoundation.org. And you can find the Dusty Rhodes merch on Pro Wrestling Tees. And we're going to have some new merch coming out soon.
There you go. And again,
letting me talk about the foundation and some other fun Rhodes nicknames.
Yes, for sure. Make sure to check out the documentary on Peacock as well, the Becoming Cody Rhodes American Nightmare documentary. So thank you so much for joining us. We're really looking forward to this. People will not see the intro that I messed up. We're going to edit it out, but I'm going to tell everybody right now.
You could feel the excitement in that intro, and me and Jeremy know, and it'll just be for the three of us.
Yes. Yes.
I'll release it as a blooper one day. When we do the documentary on this show, we'll release that footage.
That's
Teal, thank you so much for joining us again, guys. The links are below in the description to go and support Teal and go and support the Dusty Rhodes Foundation. Thank you again, Teal. We really appreciate it. Go watch American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes on Peacock if you have not seen that yet. Oh, go ahead.
Or no, I was gonna say, or watch it again. Maybe you already watched it. Watch it again.
Yes.
The numbers, Cody wants somebody to leak the numbers. Maybe somebody will leak the numbers of how well the documentary is actually doing.
Leak his merch numbers, because I keep seeing really wrong merch stuff, and I am petty like that. Where I'm
Hey, I'm with you, Teal. There's absolutely no way that LA Knight is outselling Cody Rhodes. I'm going to put it out there right now for everybody.
But in just wrestling journalism, there's some stories that I see every day. I like LA Knight. I think he's awesome, but I see some crazy stuff that is just made up. But I kind of do want to leak the merch numbers because they're insane.
It's all just leak the merch numbers from Jensen. He's got every piece of merch there.
Is on your body right now. I mean, so the proof is in the pudding. It's Steven's wearing it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you again, Teal. We really appreciate it. Guys, thanks for watching the interview, and we'll be right back here on. We are back. Big thank you to Teil Rhodes for joining us in the Creator Spotlight. A lot of fun addressing CODY Lies. Come on. You can't get better than that. And revealing that she booked the infamous neck tattoo appointment. It was all her. She didn't know what she was getting herself into with that. A lot of fun with Teil Rhodes. Everyone go check out the links below with Dusty Rhodes Foundation. The merchandise link is there as well, along with the front page of the foundation. And you can follow Teal on social media if you would like to do that as well. Guys, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. We appreciate the super chats. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the thumbs up, everyone who has joined us here on the show this morning. We'll be back next week. Another new interview talking more in the world of professional wrestling. We have a new episode of In the Weeds tomorrow, FightfulOverbooked.com. In the Weeds from 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Myself and Joel Pearl talking everything happening in wrestling on that show. Head over to FightfulOverbooked.com. Tag Talk was back. Tag Talk was back this week. We have Coexisting with Rob and Maggie tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. We have Indeed. Indeed was live last night with Mike and Righteous Reg, and just a lot of stuff going on Fightful Overbooked. So go over there, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. All of our contributors, supporters, all of our content creators and contributors, we want to make sure they continue to get a little money out of that venture. So we appreciate all the support of Fightful Overbooked. Subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Best $5 in the business. $5 in the business, but the best $5 in the business. Go to Fightful.com, read all the news, read all the headlines, read all the fun stuff that we're doing. Thank you again, guys. We'll be back next week. Talk to y'all then. Goodbye, everybody.